What's the 10K and 10-minute audit that can improve your personal brand and your sales? Why is there a current trust recession in the coaching industry, and how can you overcome it? What kind of marketing funnels build trust while also building your personal brand? What can you learn from the Starbucks versus Dunkin Donuts coffee war that will shift the way you think about your business? And how can you build solid market positioning that helps you to attract high value clients without needing to chase them? These are just a few of the amazing secrets my guests and I will be revealing during today's episode of the Marketing Podcast Party. Cue the music. Hey, welcome to the Marketing Podcast Party, the only marketing podcast where you and I party together while discovering big, bold, and wildly successful marketing ideas that can transform your business. I'm your host, Daniel Den. Let's get this party started. Wow, that's a really cool hat you got there, man.
Not what I have is my brain, bro. I brought my brain today.
Whoa, that's stinking outside of the cranium or
Took
something
my
like
head off.
that. In today's episode, my guest and I are going to deep dive into building a brand that ultimately leads to you generating more high ticket sales. And we are going to uncover some big, bold, sticky, and wildly successful marketing ideas. And after today's episode, if you'd like to access even more wildly successful marketing ideas, then you can do that with my new book and the cool case studies that I reveal inside of Ideas That Influence. And the great news is that I want to give you a copy today for free. Ideas That Influence comes with the book and this amazing box experience. And you can grab both the book and the box experience today for free. You just pay shipping and handling costs. And to grab your copy, simply head on over to bigideasbox.com. Once again, that's bigideasbox.com for your free plus shipping copy of the Ideas That Influence book and interactive box experience. And now it's time to introduce my very special guest. Matt Travis has worked with thousands of people over the past 20 years. He is a high performance mental fitness coach who runs an online company called The Potential You. He is also known as the Unstoppable CEO's Coach. He specializes in helping you have more impact and income without sacrificing your mental, physical, or emotional well-being. He currently lives in Massachusetts with his amazing wife and two young boys. It's a huge honor to have on today's show the incredible Matt Travis. Let's go.
Thank you, my man, Daniel Dunn. Thank you. I got to give one more shout out to the book that you just shared. That's how I met Daniel Dunn, and I actually purchased that. It was a similar thing where you get it for free. It was so game changer, such an amazing experience, so much that I unveiled it live on in front of my audience because I fell in love with it. So y'all, if you want to just have some fun experience, do not sleep on that offer. I love that.
Let's go. Oh, thank you, Matt. I was not expecting that. I
Yeah,
truly appreciate you 100%. But
absolutely.
Matt, now welcome to the show. You're amazing. You've helped a lot of people over the years. Tell us a little bit about your story. What's the journey that got you to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think my story will help explain why we're dressed like this. Ultimately, I started as a physical education teacher in 2006, and I
That's
just fell
me.
in love
So
with helping.
I'm representing you today.
He's my past self.
With
And
that, with or without the mullet.
without the mullet, I
Oh,
didn't have a mullet back in the day. In 2006, I wasn't rocking a mullet. I did have more hair than I do now. Um, but it ultimately led to this long journey to understand why people do what they do, how they do what they do, and ultimately the subconscious mind, aka the brain. And I feel like this is what the subconscious would look like. And so, starting as a physical education teacher and just working with kids and just seeing like why do they want to do what you have set out for them, like what gets them to buy each and every day in the classroom. And then when I opened my fitness facility in 2010, I fell in love with figuring out, how do people get results and keep them? How come some people don't get results? How come some people get results but don't keep them? Right. So there's just like all of these things that happen for people. And it just led me on this, like, I'd say lifelong quest to understand what gets people into trusting you and into buying from you and into um, being part of your world. Like, what makes people drawn to you? And that's really when I started to understand how impactful the subconscious is on people's brands and how they perceive you, and how it ultimately they perceive your positioning. And I kept going down the rabbit hole. And now I'm in the place where I just love helping service-based business owners really identify what helps people feel subconsciously safe and want to buy from you and really relate and love on your brand. Um, so I'm super excited to dive into that today.
Incredible. And how many years did you have the gym?
So I was a full-time teacher for 18 years, and then trying to teach full-time from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. while I had a staff running the gym in the morning. And then ultimately going in and working from 3:30 to 8 p.m., realizing what burnout really feels like, folks. And also just understanding, I feel like I went to the school of hard knocks for business. Like, I had to just learn as I went, because I didn't get into this necessarily to be an entrepreneur or start business, even though I fell in love with it later. But it was
Yeah.
more of like, I just wanted to help people. That's always been my thing. Like, how
Yeah.
can I help people in the best way possible? And so whether it was through teaching or coaching or consulting or mentorship, it didn't matter. It was like, I just want to help people. That's it.
Yeah. Awesome. So you were a gym teacher. Were you a coach for any of the sports at the high school
Yeah,
or
so that's
the
actually
middle
how it all
school?
happened. Yeah, that's how it all happened. So I was a phys ed teacher. My high school football coach was like, "Hey, come and coach with us. Like, I want you to be a coach for the team." And so I started coaching there, and I was watching the athletes, like the football players, just run down the field and like tweak an ankle or tear an ACL. And I was like,
Mm,
"Why is this happening? Like, what is going on here?" And it wasn't even from like impact collision that they were getting injured. So I started to investigate more. I went and watched them do strength and conditioning. Like, I watched them actually, lift weights and do that stuff. And I was like, man, this looks horrible. Like,
yeah.
it was hard to watch, because there was no guy, like, and this is no shade on them. It was just like, they didn't know how to train kids. They just were like, hey, we're going to go in here and get strong. But when you build
Yeah.
strength on non-functional movement patterns, you're building strength that doesn't actually keep you safe and support you. So that like led me to my first ever like conference, I'd say, like first ever like fitness professional development thing called Perform Better. And I would go to this conference, and it changed my life. I mean, it literally what's opened the doors to entrepreneurship for me in 2007. And I remember like being there geeking out and being like, man, this is like a whole underground world of what true, strength and conditioning and true functional movement and what this is all about. And I'd say it like just continued to spur my love for helping people in just a way that was not just your traditional go to a gym, get healthy type of way, lose
Yeah.
weight type of way. It was more of like how to actually help people move well and then move often. So that
Yeah.
it was the first thing.
Yeah, lots of entrepreneurs, business owners that they finally, like after years, they're like going to like their first conference. That
Yeah.
it's like, oh my gosh, like I'm not alone on an
Yeah.
island, siloed all by myself. So I can imagine you in 2007 being like, whoa, look at all these coaches that actually know what they're talking about. They got
Totally.
all these, we'll say, quote unquote, secret underground strategies that nobody else is talking about, and then it's like it just gets you amped, it gets you fired up. For me, it was for affiliate marketing uh, conferences. So my first like conference I went to was like the big one was Affiliate Summit, and I went to Affiliate Summit. I was like, man, this is so freaking amazing. I think it's called the Javits Center in New York, and I went and I was like just blown away and just so fired up and amped up, and so that like that experience and then learning from other coaches and you coaching and now you're coaching coaches and you're helping them build their personal brands. Like how did that all come together? Did you eventually sell the gym or did you just transition? When did you quit teaching? How did that work?
Yeah, it was definitely an evolution. And I mean, when I think about going to that first conference, I also felt a lot of imposter syndrome because you're like watching these guys on stage being like, who the hell am I to start a fitness facility? Like, who am I to open up this place? And it was kind of your first dipping your toe in there. And I remember because I did buy into a franchise to kind of like help support opening that. So this was like circa 2009 or 2010. I don't remember, but
Mhm.
it was August. I remember that, and I signed for the franchise, and I also bought my wife or my soon to be wife a engagement ring. So I basically like cleaned my bank account and
What?
went all yeah, I went all in, and I love that moment because it was really like my all in moment. Like, let's
Yeah.
go, let's see what this is gonna that's what's gonna happen here. How's this gonna work? And then opening the fitness facility and opening the doors, and a year in realizing uh, people don't just come to your business like you the whole build it and it will and they build it and they'll come type of thing from like Field of Dreams that doesn't happen. So I remember thinking in my brain, being like, man, like, what do I do? And I went back to that first Perform Better conference and thinking, like, who was the guy that had the best information and knowledge around how to build a very successful fitness facility? So that led to my second investment outside of opening the fitness facility and getting the franchise, which was investing in my first ever coaching mastermind experience. So I joined this experience called Pro, Results Fitness. It was from a gentleman named Alan Cosgrove and his wife Rachel Cosgrove, and I remember flying out, and it was in California. And it was like one of those moments, and I'm sure you had this type of moment when it's like the first time you actually like invest like 10K into a coaching package and experience, and you're like, you think you're insane for doing it, and the people around you are like, what the hell are you doing? But in my mind, it just was like, I know this is what I need to do. Like, I
Yeah.
know I need to do this. And so I went all in, invested, and within, I mean, I would say 90 days, I ended up making like $30,000 from it because it actually taught me how to
Whoa,
make the
hold
gym
up,
work.
hold
Yeah,
up.
exactly. Right?
30,000 in 90 days. Money back
Exactly.
alert! Let's go.
And
Oh, a
that's what it's all
10,000
about.
investment into a coach. That's why you love coaching coaches. A $10,000
Absolutely.
investment in a coach, and you were worried about your business, and then you were able to do 30K in 90 days with your gym. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh.
Yeah.
That's inspirational, man. Congratulations.
Yeah,
Let's go. I want
absolutely.
to say it again. Money magnet alert.
It was it was so good because it instilled in my brain in this whole belief in investing in yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of money, especially to a teacher and a a fitness facility that I opened, that I realized, like, dude, I don't really have a choice. Like, I got to do something different because this isn't working right now. Because
Yeah.
I didn't go to business school, y'all. I didn't. I just You're just kind of trying to figure this stuff out, and so I was like, all right, cool. I'm gonna just learn from the best. And so I invested in the best, learned from the best. Had to fly out there 3 times a year. Got to go to California for the first time. It was cool. And at the same time, it was interesting because I learned a lot about how to structure my time and how to stay focused, right? So teaching full time, right? Still, because as a teacher, it's interesting, like the mindset around being a teacher and the way your brain works is like everyone tells you like, oh, you stay until you get a pension, right? Like
Mhm.
that's the whole thought process. So I didn't ever think about leaving in the early days. It was more of like, how do I make this work so that I
Right.
could leave, right? And
Mhm.
that was the original thought process. And during the whole time, your body starts to wear down. Like it took a pretty decent toll on my body. I started getting sinus infections, and just kind of
Mm.
not knowing that that was a link between overworking and my gut health and all that stuff. And so of course the doctors give you antibiotics, right? And so
Good. Yeah.
yeah, so I just kind of destroyed my health and well-being while running a fitness facility, ironically. And
Yeah.
I love how life happens for you, because it really helped me understand, like that was my next thing that I fell in love with, was I started getting all of these nutrition certifications, and really just learning all about gut health, and like how the gut is so impactful. Because I think it was my first lead into also the brain too, because I realized how much the gut impacts your mental health. Like people don't talk about that, but it's really, really powerful how, like, when my gut got destroyed, I just mentally was stuck and
Yeah.
suffering.
Just yeah. It's like you're just thinking about like what's going on in the inside. Yeah, and you're
It
uncomfortable overall.
Yeah, and I mean, there's just so much sensors. I'll keep it simple. I'm not going to get deep into science and stuff, but like, there's sensors that link, and there's a whole axis that links your gut to your brain. So there's
Mm.
like the chemicals that are released, in your hormones, and everything just gets all out of whack, both in
Yeah.
your brain and your gut. Like they call your gut your second brain, and so when I went down
Right.
this rabbit hole, it just like helped me understand why people do what they do. I really feel like it happened for me to understand, like, there's a whole population of people that just are struggling mentally, physically, and emotionally because their gut health is off. And so I decided to dedicate my next step into learning about nutrition and mindset and all that stuff. So I, of course, kept investing in certifications around nutrition. I did all Tony Robbins stuff. I went into a bunch of his programs, Jim
Yeah.
Rohn, a bunch of the amazing mindset, quote unquote, mindset guys out there. And it was awesome. And I really felt connected to those folks. And I think it ultimately led to me closing it, because I knew that it wasn't really what I was supposed to be doing, and that all of the things that happened for me were leading me to something way bigger that I had no clue that was going to
Yeah.
evolve to next. So in 2016, end of 2016, I just decided to let it go. There was other factors, like, me and my wife, we had 2 miscarriages, and it was just like life was just,
Yeah.
like breathing down your neck, and I just knew that I needed to make a change. And so I was really happy to lean into my intuition and know that, like, I needed to jump and do something different. Like things
Yeah.
needed to change. So I closed that in 2017. I, of course, start learning about this whole online world place. Like, what's this place about? Like
Yeah.
there's coaches on here that are making crazy money, and like they're creating these amazing premium brands, and they're creating these awesome uh offers and these packages, and they're able to you know charge premium prices and all this stuff. And this was just all so new to me, and yet I started to realize how insanely valuable it was, right? Because in my gym, like the highest someone would invest for semi-private coaching, which was like a 4-to-1 ratio. That's like a $297 a month investment. So they're paying
Okay.
about $297 a month to come
Yeah,
in
that, at the
and
time, I mean, today it would probably be like 897, right?
exactly more, right? And of course I was charging myself and all that stuff, because when you're in there, and we'll probably get into this a little bit more, but like you're and I didn't understand positioning and marketing and messaging and all that stuff. But if you're a gym, you're also sort of going up against the $10 a month gym, right? Or at least I thought I was, but or
Yeah,
like a CrossFit style thing. So I did learn a lot about positioning and messaging and marketing during that process that kind of led me into the next phase, which when I started to learn about high ticket coaching and how to actually like really help people in that way, I just fell in love, man. I was like all in. I was like, man, I can create a program and a offer that includes mindset, and it includes nutrition, and it includes fitness, and it includes gut health, and it just like I can include all the things that people actually need.
yeah,
And I was like, man, this is so game changer. And people are willing to pay for this because it's different than what's out there and what's being offered. Right.
yeah.
So
It's a
I,
difference of a it's a difference of selling a result and selling like a
bingo,
transformation, basically. It's a
totally.
transformation. And I think that's the big shift when it comes to your personal brand and your positioning and your messaging, when you can convey that I'm not just selling you a result. It's not 10 pounds that I'm selling you, it's a transformation. I think that like really helps you to start to stack that money, right? And
Absolutely.
so we're going to jump into all of your strategies for personal branding. We're going to jump into everything about the messaging and everything and how to command those high ticket prices. Obviously, we know one of the secrets already. You got to sell a transformation. So for those writer downers, write that one down. But
Absolutely.
I'm going to backtrack super fast because um, I'm going to be upset at myself if I don't ask you these two questions that I think we deserve the answers to. Okay. First of all, so remember there's two questions. First question is, how did you sell? Like, how did you go from struggling with the gym to selling 30K in 90 days while you were a school teacher? Like, that's worth, like, give us a little
Yeah.
bit of a hint here, at least. That's really good.
Yeah. It was all I honestly credit that first one to believing in myself and investing in myself. That
Mm-hmm.
is where the mindset shift came from. Because if I hadn't, right? So like if I hadn't invested, I honestly went out for a 1 day workshop to California to learn from Alwyn Cosgrove and Results Fitness. Like I didn't actually expect for them. I didn't. This was before I understood like that was a front end offer. I had no clue what that
you,
was. Right? Like I had
you didn't
no
know you were
clue.
going to get pitched on a 10K program.
No clue. Right?
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that I was part of that experience. It was the first time I realized like when you go to these in-person events, right, or even online events, like these people are giving you an opportunity to up level, right? They're
Yeah.
meeting you at this one level and they're saying, "Hey, look, you flew all the way here, you did all this stuff, right? Here's a bunch of value. You could go and run with this and take this and do it on your own, or you can invest in yourself and make this happen." And I remember one of the that I will also talk about the strategy piece of this though. Like during that weekend where I flew out for the mastermind, like we're pulling out calendars, we're figuring out marketing strategy, and we're figuring out different offers and way to get people interested in what you have to offer. So that was the first time like we started like month by month, um, like really going into like what we offer, like what can
Mm-hmm.
make this special, what can create more culture in the fitness facility, like what can drive people through the door? What are some special offers, right? So like you think like beginning of the year, the new year, new you type of offer, or around Thanksgiving time, it was like the burn the bird was right after Thanksgiving. So they would come
Yeah.
in and I dressed, and this is what the first time I fell in love with dressing up, bro. Like I dressed up like a giant turkey that day. So this is why we're kindred spirits, Daniel. Like
There
like
you go.
like I dressed up like this was the first time I dressed up like a giant turkey. All these people walk into the fitness facility. I mean, we had like 50 people in there. I'm just like a turkey, like having them do stuff. And I feel like the vibe of like, I just like to have fun. I mean, I was a phys ed teacher for kindergarten through third graders, man. So I'm not afraid to like look weird or like any of that stuff because people, we're all, especially adults, like we're just big kids, y'all. And like,
Yeah.
you know, I was maybe, the Peter Pan vibe, just like never wanted to grow up. And it's like people relate and have more fun when you're just being authentic and just being yourself and not afraid to look weird, because honestly, it draws people attention and be like, what the hell is that? Is that your brain? Is that your, like, why does Daniel have a mullet? Like, what is going on this podcast here? Um, and so, like that was the thing. It was like I learned how each month we could do something unique or special or that draws attention to us. And that's
Yeah.
ultimately what allowed us to create marketing and messaging and email campaigns and things like that that just started to bring people into our fitness facility, which I wasn't doing before because I just didn't know. Like you
Yeah.
don't know what you don't know, you know?
So
And so that was the best.
it sounds like when you went into the group and you started learning from the coaches, like you got pitched the $10,000 offer. It was an analogy. Your entire experience showing up for that event and the experience you had, the culture that you experienced,
Totally.
the group experience, the way they positioned themselves, the way they sold, the way they provided value to you as a customer, that was in and of itself, it was an analogy for what you could bring home. And so when you invested in yourself, you took that as an analogy of, oh, I need to go home. I need to position myself. I need to create culture. I need to create experiences. That's a big part of it.
Totally.
And basically, what you're telling me is you weren't providing a massive amount of value. You weren't providing culture. You weren't providing experience. You weren't really differentiating. But when you took everything you learned from them and you started to basically all at the same time provide all that and then the transformation as well, right?
Absolutely.
Check, 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 check. And then all of a sudden you go from struggling to 30K in 90 days while you're still doing your full-time job as a gym teacher.
Totally. And
Incredible.
another important point that I want to add to this too is like most of my clients at this point, this was a youth fitness gym. So it was also something that wasn't necessarily a thing yet. Like people had never
Mhm.
really heard of like your kids can come here, So I had 6 through 9, 10 through 13, 14 plus sessions, and then of course all of the parents were like, "Hey, do you train adults too?" And I'm like, "Sure." Right? Like put it in there, right? And it was like doing all of that and having to shift your brain. So like I literally I would be teaching all day, right? Kindergarten through third grade. Then I'd run my first session, which was the same, right? The 6 through 9 year old group. Then I had the middle schoolers coming in, and then I'd have the high schoolers coming in, and then I had the adults coming in. And this is just how it flowed. And this is how I learned to like really expand my mind, like
Mhm.
as to like what was possible. And yet at the same time, and this is super important, if so what I fell in love with was helping. I technically fell in love with helping everybody, even though I was starting with the youth. And
Yeah.
so, probably a year after that, like my messaging kind of got a little muddied, right? Because I was like, oh, should I be speaking to adults? Should I be speaking to the kids? Like who do I market and message to? Because like who
Yeah.
what's really going on? And that's actually when I started to realize who is actually buying my service, which was these moms and these parents of these athletes. that wanted to come to my
Yeah.
fitness facility. That's what I realized. I was like, okay, so I need to create marketing and messaging and positioning for them as to why I'm the best option for their kids.
Mm,
And that's the thing.
nice.
And you got to really like moms, like the biggest thing in their life is their kids, man. Like it's one of the biggest things in their lives. And it's like, if you don't speak to them and make them feel subconsciously safe that you're going to be the best option and you're going to take care of their kid, they're not in. They're not in at all. Right.
Yeah.
So it really taught me so much about sales and marketing and how to create an experience too. Like when they would come into the fitness facility, like how to actually have them come in and give them like a whole experience, sales experience, where you're painting the picture of the transformation, right? Running through a functional movement screen, something that they've never seen in any other gym. They came in and they were like, "Oh my God, this guy knows so much," and his coaches that work for him are super like they know a lot too. And so it just like opened up this whole world for people where I became a class of one because I did it different than everybody else. And then I was able to create positioning, marketing, and messaging around why I was different.
Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Oh man, we're gonna. I want to play some music, but we got wait 1 second, because I have to. I told you there was two questions. That would have been a perfect lead into, but I gotta ask the second question. I gotta
Yeah.
ask the second question because I'm just too curious. So they say that the brain, uh, so so they say that the gut is like the second brain of the body,
Yes.
and you super understand that today,
Yes.
and you've like studied all that, and you've helped people through the gut problems and
Yeah.
how it helps them overall. But why is it like the second brain? Like what? Like why specifically is it like the second brain of the body?
Yeah. That's an awesome question. I mean, there's so many things we could talk around in there, but one of the key things you can think about, folks, is like your 70% of your immune system is in your gut. Like,
Mm,
so um, I used to always say, like, you aren't what you eat, you're what you eat and absorb. And so, what
mm,
happens with a lot of people in their gut is they are eating stuff, but they're not necessarily breaking it down and assimilating it into their body. And so, if you're not breaking it down and assimilating it, then you're missing out on some important vitamins, minerals, nutrients that your body needs and your brain needs. And so your brain is actually at the whim of your gut because what you're eating, you know, or what you're not eating too, like fasting has such an impact on your overall health and your brain health as well. And then, you know, the difference between eating high fat, low carbohydrate or high carbohydrate, low fat. Like there's so many different ways to think about this. But like I said, we have in a sense, we have sensors, right? We have these different things that are sending messages from the food we're eating. We have all this stuff. They're sending messages
yeah.
to your brain and your body. And what happened to me, I'm a big dude. I'm 6'3". I was 205 before I had my gut health issues, and I dropped down to 165 in 3 months after I took my last bout
Whoa,
of antibiotics, and
that's
it just
rough.
destroyed my gut.
If you're 6'3" down to 165,
I
that's
was
rough, bro.
Dude, it was super rough and I couldn't digest well. And of course, what that led to, and I'll say this is what led me to the brain ultimately. The all of the symptoms of gut health suck. They suck badly, y'all. Like the bloating, the either, you know, diarrhea or constipation, you get itchy skin, you get rashes, you get like all the weight gain or weight loss. Like there's so many physical things that happen, but I would say without a shadow of a doubt that the mental stuff that happens to you because your hormones are all over the place, and um honestly the darkness of what happened mentally for me, the depression, the anxiety, panic attacks, that I never experienced any of this stuff to that extent before. Um, it just was magnified, and that's what made that was ultimately what led me to focus on self-care as one of my top values, because I was trying to heal myself. Like I was like, man, I got, like, if I'm gonna, I honestly went into it to heal myself, and then I learned that there's so many others that felt exactly like I did, where they felt alone, they felt lost, they felt like, you know what? Like I go to these doctors and everyone's telling me I'm fine, but they're not fine. That's exactly what happened to me. Like I was like, I'm not fine, mentally,
Yeah.
physically, emotionally, not fine. And they also said, like, in order to handle, like, they were like, you have a lot of candida and H. pylori, which are bacteria and funguses and yeast infections and stuff like that. And they were like, "Oh, you just need to take more antibiotics." I was like,
Yeah.
"Hell no!" Like, I was like, "That's how I got in this situation." So,
Yeah.
so I ultimately went on a journey, a healing journey,
Yeah.
and I'm so glad I did, because it's what actually led to my positioning and my the way that I went into the online world. Because when I went into online, I I ultimately went in as a guy that could help you lose weight by focusing on your subconscious mind and your gut health. So it was just like, that was the way, because they were like, I mean, all they had been told up to that point was diet, exercise, sleep. So it was like, if I can give them a different way to think about this, then they're going to be more open to hearing me, because they've never heard this before. Right. So that's the first time I learned about unique mechanisms and all this fun stuff.
Oh man, I got
Did
so
I
many
answer your
questions.
question?
Yeah, you sure did.
Okay, cool.
That was amazing. You all, things are heating up. Things are getting really good. Y'all seeing this? Things are about to get crazy. Let's go. Oh man. So many questions. I I really want to go down more rabbit holes, but we promised the user, we promised the viewer, we promised the listener that we're going to talk about personal branding and how to build that up as a coach. And who else other than Matt Travis to help us learn that, because he's been like a coach and then like a coach and then like a coach. And now he's like a coach for coaches, all around building up that personal brand. And you reminded me with everything with the gut health. You reminded me of bulletproof coffee. I know you have a really cool example with Starbucks and with Dunkin Donuts when it comes to the reason why you remind me of the bulletproof coffee is
I was
because
just gonna say, it's totally my glasses. It
oh
must
there
be that. So I learned about blue light blocking glasses from Dave Asprey. Like that was who
oh
that
yeah,
was the first guy. Like when back in the day that wore these crazy glasses. I just figured the subconscious mind would wear these if
yeah.
that was a real thing. But what did you think? Were you thinking coffee, Starbucks?
No, it was when you said that you're not what you eat. You're not. It's not that you are what you eat. It's what you eat and then absorb. And so I like immediately, because I knew we were going to talk about
Yeah,
Dunkin' Donuts and Starbucks, and I was like, well, bulletproof coffee is a perfect example of that because, and then if the gut is the second brain, so
totally.
the reason why bulletproof coffee is so loved and people like it, it's like super addictive is because so you're consuming it, it goes down in your gut, and then like you're absorbing all of these healthy fats, and then like the caffeine, and then it's
Yeah.
like your brain just lights up, and you're like, woohoo, let's go.
Totally. And you know what's interesting? And I love that you're going down that rabbit hole, because it's like there's so many companies now that they tote themselves as gut health and brain health coffee, right? So they're taking it from, like the Dunkin' Donuts type person, and then you go to the premium level, which is like the Starbucks people, and
Mhm.
now you have this whole different thing online where you're seeing Facebook ads for like Daily Dose and these other coffee companies that are creating an experience. Like you get a box, there's adaptogenic mushrooms or herbs inside of the coffee, right? And some of them are putting actual probiotics in the coffee. So they're separating themselves from everybody else, right? So that's the premium positioning. And so it's like all of a sudden they're able to sell you $50 coffee versus the Starbucks that's selling you $10 coffee versus the Dunkin Donuts who's you can get a wicked awesome coffee for $5, right? So
Versus the Folgers for 50 cents at home.
back in the 80s, right? So that's the thing. So like yeah, like it's a really interesting thing and around coffee and like where you're positioned in the market, who you're speaking to. And these companies that just came in, they totally came in, they were like, "Hey, we have something totally new." Even though like there was a company called Four Sigmatic who was selling coffee, and they were the first I'd ever seen come on the scene with the adaptogenic mushrooms, so the lion's mane and the cordyceps and stuff like this. And for those of you that are like, what the hell are adaptogenic mushrooms? Like, what the hell are you talking about? It's basically, think of like your stress response.
Mhm.
It's just turning down the stress response. So for
Oh,
my
okay.
clients that have gut health issues, a lot of times they have adrenal issues, so they are just exhausted all the time. So if they can't give up their addiction to coffee, they can at least support their gut health and their adrenals by adding some adaptogenic mushrooms and herbs and things like that.
Whoa. It all ties together.
It's
We're
branding, marketing,
gut,
gut health.
gut health, gut health to the brain, and the
We're
brain,
flowing.
and then the personal branding, and then yeah. So I mean, and then back to the coffee example, the personal branding and everything. So you can be the 50 cent cup of coffee people make at home for themselves. The only problem when it comes to positioning is that you're going to be kind of like fighting for the scraps at the bottom of the barrel. I mean, the best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup. How are you going to compete with that as like the cheap guy, right? And so if you're a coach and if you're looking for a high ticket, if you for example, I would say the equivalent of this would be you telling everybody else that you're a life coach, and then while you're telling everybody else that you're the life coach, you say, "Hey, I'm a life coach, but I'm not gonna rip you off like those other guys. I
Yeah,
only charge
exactly.
you like $100 a month, right?" And so like that would be you like trying to be like competing against like everybody else for the scraps at the bottom of the barrel. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum, when it comes to your bulletproof coffees and your coffees with like the mushrooms in it that help with relieving the stress and that help with your gut and all of that stuff, the super high end stuff. There's even so you've heard of like the coffee beans that are eaten by like the monkeys, and the monkeys poop it out, and then it's like super like expensive per ounce. Like it's like a thing. Like it's
Totally.
expensive, and for some people, for some reason, I don't know what that has to do and how that affects your gut health and why people love it so much and why it tastes different and why the flavor is good and why you would even want to drink that. But there are people that are willing to pay that $30 a cup or whatever it is for the crazy versions of the coffee, but they are sold not just coffee. It's not the Folgers version of coffee. It's something transformative. It's something that provides a unique value proposition that nobody else is providing. And us as personal brands, as coaches, we if we want to compete in 2025, we need to think transformation and we need to think high value. What is our way of providing high value in the market? Am I right, Matt?
1,000,000%. And you're seeing that in the different people that are coming in. And I love the points that you brought up there. And it's like a lot of times they're just creating this unique mechanism that like people hadn't heard of yet. Like, these bats eat this coffee and then they poop it out and then you have this unique mechanism,
Yeah.
right? Um, Another example is like you'll see some of these coffee companies or any company, they'll be like, "Oh, we added probiotics to this." But the thing is the consumer doesn't really know what that means. They just know that they want that result. They're like, "Oh, yeah, my gut's all messed up. Like yeah, I need some probiotics. But they're not even realizing that the company, like they might put in one. So this is where probiotics get interesting, where 1 billion probiotics is like a penny on the dollar. Okay. It's not a
Mm,
lot, but people wouldn't know that, right?
yeah.
Because they don't
But it's a
understand
big
that. But they
number.
yeah, they're like, oh, 1 billion in there. That's amazing. It's nothing. Absolutely nothing. You have trillions and trillions and trillions on your body and your skin right now.
Mm.
So it's really just putting good marketing, messaging, and positioning around a unique mechanism.
Love it. Love it. So, when it comes to the way you coach coaches and you help them build their personal brands and you help them with their market positioning strategies, what's your way? Like, let's pretend I am not good. Let's pretend I come to you and I say, "Hey, Matt, so I bought this course, all right, and I dropped $1,000 on it, and now I'm a certified life coach, and now I need your help, Matt. I'm a certified life coach. I'm ready to go make my
Yeah.
millions." And then you're like, and then deep sigh from Matt. Okay, let's back up. And what do you do with me?
Yeah, and I like that you're using life coaches in this example because um, they're the ones that I find have the biggest challenge and struggle because of this one thing and this one thing only, folks. So if you're a life coach and you're listening, hear me out on this, see where we can go with it. But ultimately, like I started to realize that people, when they're searching for a thing, they are searching based off of what I call a doorway problem or desire. So it's a doorway desire or doorway problem. So let me give you an example. They're like, I am overweight. I want to lose weight. So
Mhm.
doorway problem, doorway desire,
Yeah.
right? I don't have a partner. I would love to get into a relationship. I want to find my soulmate. Doorway problem, doorway desire,
Yeah.
right? So it's like what they're knocking on the door for, what they're searching Google for. Like they're not searching, they're not thinking top of like, I need a life coach. They're thinking, I have this problem. I want this type of transformation. Where is this person? And I would say I'm probably a true to life coach. Like I can help people in their mind, body, and business
Yeah.
like in a massive way. Like people that come in, some people do access all of those things from working with me. And I meet them at the doorway or desire of their problems. So, like, I run something called the Lead and Sales Accelerator, or on my podcast, I offer a thing called the 10K in 10 minutes. And what it does is it allows them to see the holes that they have in their foundations. Okay. So, most people have never really like selected a group of people that they love working with, right? Their ideal client avatar, that person that they're like, man, this is who I want to speak to, this is who I want to help, right? And like, what is their problem? And or they haven't selected the big problem that they do, right? So you can either decide, hey, this is the problem I'm gonna solve for a lot of people, or this is the person that I like to help. What is their problem?
Yeah.
So in the early days, I started like, I can help people lose, especially in the gym. It was like, I can help people get faster and stronger. Kids get faster and stronger. Then it was like, I can help working moms lose weight, right? Doorway, desire, door problem. And then it led into the online world where it's like, I can help you lose weight through gut health. I can help working moms release 20 pounds in 90 days guaranteed with little to no exercise. Like they were like, how? Like, how do you do that? Like, you don't have to exercise? What do you mean? And I was like, yeah, you don't have to exercise. Like, that's not actually how weight loss works, right? And I would even start getting them attuned to a different way. I would say weight release. So
Yeah.
they're like, oh, he sounds different, right? Like, he's not saying weight loss, he's saying weight release. What does that mean? Well, when you release weight, you let it go and you don't gain it back. If you lose weight, this is the thing. This is the thing that people aren't thinking about, y'all. Think about
Mm,
any other time in your life that you've lost something, right? Daniel, if you lose your keys, is it cool or not?
not cool. Not
Right?
cool.
If you lost, like let's say you had a wife or a husband or kids or whatever it is, right? If you lost that, that would
Yeah.
not be cool, right?
Not cool. Yeah.
If you went to Vegas or like and you lost,
Yeah.
It's not cool, right? So losing to the brain, losing in a sporting event, not cool, right? So for
Yeah.
some reason, like when it comes to weight loss, your brain
That
is
was,
like, I don't want to lose.
well, guys, did you hear that? What? That was gold. Yeah, basically, this is a masterclass in messaging, man. This is a
Messaging, language patterns.
masterclass in talking about your unique positioning that you offer that's not like everybody else. So, and then having those mind shifts inside of that messaging, right?
Totally. Yeah. Yeah, most people they're not even aware of it. And I feel like I got to go through all the craziness in my life because
Yeah.
we didn't even start talking about, well, how the hell did you get from gut health and health coaching into helping women service-based entrepreneurs create premium positioning and packaging? Like how the hell did you even get there?
Yeah.
Right? It's a weird jump, right?
Yeah.
And so ultimately, it was like I realized that this was like around 2019. When you're in the online world, what happens is you start to run in these circles where you meet people. That's how I met you, Daniel, right? Like I was friends with another guy who was an entrepreneur, and he introduced me to your awesome, ideas that influence box. And I was like, this thing's dope. And then I'm just like, I love connecting with awesome people. So I was like, I'm gonna unveil this live. This was before I even really knew you. And I was like, I'm going to unveil this live and just like show people how cool this thing is and give some credit where credit's due that Daniel Den's the freaking man, right? Like he made this awesome box that speaks to me as a dude that likes to play and is like an eye on the disc profile. Like just I love like weird stuff, like and thinking outside of the box. I was like, this is what I'm talking about. But what happened was in 2019, I looked at my client roster, and 75% of the moms and the women that were in my client roster were they were all entrepreneurs, they were business owners. And I was like, this is interesting. And so what I just threw it out there to them. I said, hey, like, do you want to see how I'm building my online business on social media and making, multi six figures doing this? And they're like, abso-freaking-lutely. Like they didn't have to pay anything extra. It was just like an extra bonus for them, like just showing them what I'm doing. And that's when I realized, oh my God, I actually really love this. This
Yeah.
is really fun, And that's when this mind body business transformation was born. Like this whole holistic approach to business growth, because your business will only grow to the level of your self concept, your self identity at a subconscious level. So when I started realizing that these women that were coming to me, like all of their problems, whether it was health, gut health, weight release, their feelings about themselves, their business growth, their sales, their marketing, their messaging, all this stuff. That's when it was just like my brain just exploded because I was realized it's all the same freaking thing.
Yeah.
It's all the same thing. I was like,
Oh
man,
man.
this is nuts that it's like why somebody buys. So here's a perfect example. Like why somebody buys your premium, 3, 5, 10K offer is the same subconscious shifts have to happen if they're going to let go of the weight on their body that they've held on to
Mm,
for decades, right? It has
yeah.
to be a subconscious safety piece, right? They're holding onto this weight because it's a safety suit that keeps them safe,
Yeah.
right? And so why do people hold on to their money? Because you haven't presented a premium enough offer that they realize parting with this money is a fair exchange, right? Like this
Yeah.
investment for this thing, they're seeing, oh my goodness, you have the thing. Like you have the thing, you have all of this stuff, right? And so when I started to realize, like, if I could just help my clients position and market and message, I'm like, holy moly. Like they can actually invest in my program, make money, and I'm helping them get healthier than they've ever gotten in their life. So literally, they're getting, it's the ultimate program. It's literally, I realized that was the moment I realized I'm a blue ocean. Like I'm a class of one. Like I am the CEO's life coach, the conscious creator, empowered entrepreneur, optimistic overcomer, that person that is open to hearing these next level ideas like we're
Yeah,
sharing here today on this podcast that are like, you know what, there's got to be something deeper because I've tried, I was told that I was just one funnel away, right?
yeah,
I was told that I just got to read this book. I got to read the $100 million
yeah,
offers and make
yeah,
people make offers so good people feel stupid saying no to them. And what happened during that whole process was marketers got a hold of that book. And I love Alex. I think he's a great dude. I love what he did. That book is unfreaking believable. But what happened was marketers took that book and started to make coaching programs that
hmm
weren't coaching programs and charging buco dollars to do so. And a lot of people got burned. And that's why here in 2025, we have a trust recession.
yeah. I was going to ask you about that. Let's talk about the trust recession, specifically in the coaching space. So, what do you believe outside of like people? Is it over promising? Like what caused this trust recession? Like because if I present to you a value stack offer that's like amazing and it, you know, value $60,000, but you're only paying 10,000 to get in, is it just like promising the moon but not delivering, or is it something else?
It's two parts, maybe three. We'll find out in a second. So right now, my brain says it's two parts, but I'm sure there's another part in there. But it's like one part of it is, like I said, it's the marketer or the consultant, which
hmm
both of those things are different than coaches. Okay. And so, because a consultant is just, they're just giving you their strategy that worked for them. And they're like, just do this. Right. And same with like a marketer, if they come in and they read this book, and what was happening was they were putting together these unfreaking believable offers.
Yeah.
They really were. And they were like they promised you the moon, and they were unbelievable. And you're like, man, this is amazing. I can make $1 million tomorrow. Let's freaking go. Right. And you just had a bunch of people jump in and spend their last dollars on something,
Yeah.
which will lead to the second point. I'm going to explain that in a second. But they came in, and so part of it was that these marketers didn't have the best interest of these people in mind. And they were marketing a coaching program that wasn't actually a coaching program, but rather a consulting program with just information. Here's the thing, do exactly like I did, DM 100,000 people every day, cold. Like this is what they say, like go into groups, uh, friend request everybody, DM everybody, cold pitch everybody, and like, yeah, like a numbers game wise, that'll work. But the problem is they're not thinking about the other side of things, which is the
Yeah.
subconscious, which we'll get into in a second. But that's the first part, right? There was a couple people that, a couple bad apples that, did some stuff in the punch bowl, and they messed up the party. And they to be honest with you, like, you know, those folks, it makes me really frustrated because, like I said at the very beginning of this episode, I only got into the teaching and coaching game because I just freaking love helping people.
Yeah.
Like, and that's what I love about this working with those folks as well. Like these service providers, like if you provide a service, like most of the time you just want to help people. Okay. And so what happened to a lot of these folks is they got into these quote unquote coaching programs, but they weren't actually getting coached, and they weren't actually getting the help and support that they need. So
Yeah.
that's on that side. Now let's talk about the other side though. Let's talk about the ownership of the actual participant, because that's another
Right.
side. So let's say you get into a program that actually does that, or it is actually a coaching program, is actually, like legit in 10K, because there's
Check
plenty of those
checks
out
all
there.
the boxes. The
Yeah.
value. It's everything that I said that it would be and more, and I'm over
Yep,
delivering. It's a full transformation. We've got testimonials for the people that are actually following it, but not everybody follows. So,
exactly.
in that case, does it go back to the whole mindset thing? Because you were saying that you can't grow past your business can't grow past your current mindset. Like if I
Bingo.
want to make 1 million this year, I can't. And I don't know if it's because of self sabotage or whatever. Like, if I don't believe that that's for me, even if I start making enough every single day that I need to make, which I think is like, I don't know, it's like, I don't know, close to $4,000 a day, or it's like 2,900 something, something like that. If I start hitting those numbers, but I still don't believe, do I start self sabotaging? Like, what's going on the mental side?
Bingo. So this is what fascinated me the most, and really where I'm like putting my flag in the sand. Like, this is what I love. And so this is the meat and potato, folks. Like, what I realized is that your content is only as good as their context. Okay. So if they're coming in with a bunch of mental baggage and
That was
stuff like
gold. That
that,
was gold right there. repeat,
yeah,
repeat that. Repeat that.
yeah, your content is only as good as their context. So they, and I'll give you a perfect example of this. So we call these mental stacomas. But like if you've ever had a visual stacoma, a perfect example is if you remember as a child, like your parents were like, "Hey, go and get the salt shaker and bring it in so we can have dinner." Right? You're standing in front of the cabinet, you're looking for the salt shaker or the pepper, right? And you're like, "I can't find it. I don't know where it is. I can't find it. I can't find it." And you're saying that to yourself, right? You
Yeah.
can't find it. You can't see it. You don't know where it is, right? So you have this program. I don't know where this is. And literally, your mother or father comes around right behind you and grabs the salt shaker from right in front of your face, right?
Yeah.
This has happened to all of us, right? Like the keys are right there. The keys, you've been looking for your keys, they're right there. And you
Mm-hmm.
just can't see them. And so this is how like we needed that's why I started understanding brain. Like I spent hours and hours and hours and hours studying the brain and all that stuff. And I started to realize like people's brains are like they're they're designed to focus on what you believe to be true, right? So what's the only thing that's true for you is what the subconscious believes to be true. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't believe that you're worthy of making, you know, 10K, 20K, 30K months, whatever, right? If you don't believe that you can, right? So I even break it down simply for these people, like it's three belief systems, right? Belief in self
Mm-hmm.
and what and like so but you got to believe in yourself. So if you don't believe in you and your skills, then no one else will. Okay. So it
Yeah.
starts there. Second one is belief in your offer, right? If you don't believe your offer is like the best thing ever, then no one else will. And so and that's when you can build, like, if you really are passionate about it, people are going to be passionate about it as well. And then, of course, belief in your audience. So, and I say it to like when I teach my clients about like confident closing and like really like energetically aligned sales, it's really about standing for these folks until they're ready to stand for themselves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's holding that space to allow for them to feel subconsciously safe. So it all comes back to the brain's protective mechanism that it will sabotage if it doesn't believe that it's enough to receive.
Mm.
Okay. Can't
Yeah.
tell you how many people don't feel good enough to receive, right? We and I've worked with people. I'm like, we put together the craziest best offer.
Yeah.
They're excited about it, right? They're positioning, their messaging, their marketing, right? Their social posts, everything, their emails, all this is dialed in. But the problem is they don't believe at a core level, subconsciously, that they're enough to receive this
Yeah.
because of something that happened in their past. So that's why in 2020 I got certified as a rapid transformation therapy practitioner, and I was like, this opened up a whole new door, bro. Like it was like
Yeah.
so crazy.
Is that the
No,
that thing?
so
Yeah.
No, it's a mix of a couple different things. So
Okay.
it's neuro linguistic programming, cognitive behavioral therapy, um, psychotherapy, but it's delivered in the in on a platter of hypnosis, right? So it's delivered as hypnotherapy. So I literally do hypnotherapy with folks, and we go to places and we do regressions and we figure out where this stuff came from. So like I'm gonna just drop one right here that will start to make people's brains. Do we have time to go through
Yeah.
one that
Yeah. Let's do it.
that will really help people understand how they have most people have no clue why they can't break through their money ceilings.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And here was an example of a guy. I met him in a group and he was like, he confided in me. He messaged me offline. He said, Matt, I've been trying to hit the $1 million mark for the past like 3 years, man. Every year I get to like $950,000 and I just for some reason it doesn't I can't go past it. I don't know what it is. I don't know what's going on. Why is like would could I do a session with you? Figure this out. And so we did a session, and this is when I started to realize how powerful your childhood is. Like your childhood self could be blocking your business self.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's actually how I came up with this subconscious mind character was because I started shooting these reels, which I haven't released any, but they're going to come out soon, where it was me like talking about like raising my prices and then my ego and like the saboteurs coming in and like talking back and then they check in with the subconscious because the subconscious is just like this thing that takes notes and it keeps records, right?
Yeah.
So like when you were a child, so for this particular guy that was trying to hit this mark, we went back and we realized that he had a scene where his father had taken away his favorite toy, which was a kiddie pool. Like for those of you that are like, what is that? Like it's just like one of those little pools, like
Yeah.
that you just pour, take a hose and you fill it up. It's like little, right? Probably broke or whatever, and his dad threw it out. But to him, man, he created a meaning and a belief system that when he gets things he loves,
Mm.
when he gets something he loves, it can be taken away from him like
Yeah.
that. And so even when he gets something, he won't be able to keep it. So why get it anyways? And so he
Mm.
had that locked in, and it was crazy because literally once we released that, he hit the $1 million mark. Like,
Let's go. That's amazing. So when I teach, when I'm coaching people, my clients, and inside of my programs, when I teach that perception is reality, I usually use like the example of like wine tasting, where people are told that this wine was $10 and this wine was $100, and they taste each one, and then they tell us which one tastes better, and then everybody says, well, the $100 one tastes better, but then the truth was it was actually the same wine, right? So perception is reality. What I teach is that you can't argue with the person who said that the $100 wine was better. To them, it actually was better.
totally.
It tasted better. It's undeniable. It doesn't matter if it was the same wine in both cups or whatever. They actually tasted it differently.
Yep.
Perception is reality. That's the way we usually teach perception is reality. And your mind expanding examples are showing me that not only is perception reality in that sense, but perception is reality based off of things that we've held on to from the past.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's literally your whole identity, what Daniel Den identifies with,
Mhm.
your belief structure. So this is what this, and so this actually is the third part. So here you are, Daniel Den, you have an identity, a belief structure, you have values, right? You have your subconscious habits, you have all these things. And then you say, hey, other guy, other person, take everything that I just did and do the same thing, and you'll get this result. Okay.
Yeah.
And what happens, and on paper, that seems like it would make sense. The
Right.
problem is that we're not thinking that this person doesn't have the same identity, beliefs, values, stories, right? Skills,
Yeah.
habits, right? There's so much that they don't have that's the same as you, right? That it's almost impossible for them to actually access that thing.
Yeah.
And
So
so they,
let's do a mind trippy thing really fast because
yeah,
I dressed up as you from, let's say,
from the past.
2006.
Yeah,
I am Matt Travis. I am dressed as Matt Travis today. Ignore the
yeah,
mullet. Ignore it.
yeah.
Ignore it. Okay. But I am Matt Travis from 2006 before he went to his life-changing conference. Okay. So what you're telling me is that the Matt Travis from 2006 versus the Matt Travis from today, what's the big difference? Like, why can't the 2006 version hit the same goals that you're going for in 2025?
Yeah, that guy didn't ever feel like he was good enough. That's always the thing. So it's interesting. It's enoughness in some way, shape, or form is what I learned after doing 500 rapid transformation hypnotherapy sessions. Like in some way, shape, or form, this person doesn't feel enough, right? So there's a couple ways we could look at that. They either don't feel lovable enough or worthy enough.
Okay.
Okay, so that's one side of it, or capable and confident enough to do the thing. So this is this transformed my life forever. So if you're ever wondering why somebody buys or doesn't buy, y'all,
Mm-hmm.
like that Matt Travis didn't feel like he was capable and confident enough because of his earlier years with learning disabilities. Okay. So
Mm,
he felt worthy enough, to like good enough, like worth
yeah.
and lovability wise, right? Because people liked him and all that stuff. But he was like, am I enough to do it? Right? Like, am
Yeah.
I giving enough? Right? Like, is this good enough? And that's where, that's the hyperachiever saboteur. So it's like trying to reach for something more,
Yeah.
and the bar just keeps moving itself. So what I learned is that, let's say I'm going to make Matt Travis from the past an offer, right?
Okay.
There's going to be four different things that will come up. Either he doesn't feel worthy enough to
Worthy enough.
receive the offer.
Which this
Okay.
version was fine with.
Yep.
I feel worthy. Like, I feel good enough.
Totally. Totally.
Okay.
Also, the other side of that is that he might not think you're worthy enough. Like the thing that you're selling,
Value.
you have to match his value system.
Okay.
Okay.
You got to convince me to part with my $10,000. Okay. Got it.
Bingo.
Okay.
So that's one side. So my worth and your worth,
Okay.
part one. Okay.
Part one.
Let's go to the other side. Okay. So now we're on the other side. He's analyzing in his brain, yes, I can part with this money, but am I capable of doing the things that he says I would need to do or
Okay.
have to do to get this? Right.
Yeah.
Am I capable and am I confident enough to do that? Right. And then also is this person capable and confident enough to actually give me that thing? So there's the two sides of the
Mm,
spectrum as well. So it's like, yes, like, do I believe that person that's asking me to invest this, do I believe they're capable and confident enough to do this? That's, I mean, so many
yeah.
people, coming back to the life coaches that don't have a niche and they're just like everybody, everything to everybody. They don't feel confident to help a person just get like one main result. So then they market to everybody and they wonder why there's no money coming in. So it's like they're trying to get that main result for
Yeah.
that person, right? But if they don't feel like, oh, at when they first come to see me, I can help them lose weight, or I can help them find the love of their life, or I can help them, build their business, whatever it is, right? Whatever that is. So whatever that life coach specializes, if they don't feel like they can help them get that result, then they'll stay broad and they'll stay like, oh, I can help you with all these things. but people have a thing in their brain that they know they need solved. So they might not feel as confident with you, right? So it's kind of like me going to, am I going to go and choose just a general care doctor if my leg falls off? Or am I going to choose the specialist
The
that
leg
puts
specialist.
legs back on, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's like a quadrant, right?
It is.
So
Yeah.
half and half. And so when it comes to building it, it sounds like what you're telling me, Matt, is when it comes to my personal brand building strategy. So there's two sides of the quadrant that are 100% in my control.
Yep.
And that is like, can I confidently provide you with value so much so that I believe as a coach, I believe in my program, and I'm like exuding confidence. Like I'm showing you like I've got what you need.
Yep.
And then I actually have to be super excited about it, but I also need to internally, so it doesn't come across subconsciously, I need to feel that I'm worthy of whatever I'm putting out there and whatever I'm receiving, because I will put up blocks
Bingo.
where like just randomly I'm like putting out blocks. It's like I'm that close to the sale and then I'm somehow blocking the person from joining. And so those are
Absolutely.
100% of my control. But then the other two parts are partially in my control and partially not in my control, because I can influence the Matt Travis of 2025, can influence the Matt Travis from 2006, but Matt Travis from 2006 also has to overcome and accept some certain things. And then the Matt Travis from 2025 needs to teach me and instill confidence in me for me to believe it. And sometimes it's through story and through other things. And sometimes it's just through being a great coach.
Absolutely. But it's like at the end of the day, is my content going to meet your context, right? Is it
Yeah.
going to meet your identity, your beliefs, your patterns? Like, is it going to interrupt your mind?
Yeah.
Like, that's the thing. So when we're talking about the positioning and the messaging and the marketing and the branding and all this stuff, is what you're putting out there to your ideal client avatar, is it actually subconsciously interrupting the feed for these folks? Is it something different enough that they're like, wow, I need to pay attention, you know? And that's where like a perfect thing is what we're doing right now. We're dressed up weird. And so what it does is it their
I
brain
don't
is
feel
like
I don't feel weird. I feel super confident with myself.
and it's awesome because it's like it interrupts their it's a pattern interrupt for their mind. So it gets them to actually listen and go down this rabbit hole with us, and so that they get to learn this, like the stuff that we just talked about today. If everyone understood this, and more importantly knew this and actually applied it, their business would grow massively. But they don't. A lot of times, like, we're our own hardest client. I'm my own hardest client. Like, it's so many people are so close to it, so they don't know what they don't know,
Yeah.
and they might have that, like I said, that stachoma, that blind spot that they can't even see yet. And so that's why in my podcast I started offering two other options where they could come on, they could do the 10K in 10-minute audit style, where I can help them see the blind spots in their business. But
Yeah.
I also offer belief busting podcast episode options where they can come in and I can help them see what they can't see, and help them overcome that too subconsciously so that they can go on their merry way. But it's also them building that trust in that, you know, like
Yeah.
they're like, who the hell is this guy? Who does this? Right? Kind of like when people come on your podcast, they're like, you know, who does this? Like who dresses like this is literally our
Differentiate
job.
or die, baby. Differentiate or die.
Well, that's the thing. So, I mean, that's why I just think we just did such powerful work here, Daniel, because it's like we're teaching people the stuff that if you don't know this in 2025, like if you're not willing to learn how to differentiate or create that unique mechanism, or have that positioning and that and and that messaging and all that stuff to separate your brand from every other coach, every other thing out there,
Yeah.
you're going to get lost in the shuffle because AI came along as well. That's a whole different beast.
Some people are using the AI as a coach.
Exactly. And so, like, that's the thing. Like, it's really interesting where they're using AI as a coach, and AI is really good at making you feel good. Okay. It'll tell you your ideas are awesome, and
Yeah.
you're awesome and stuff like that. Unless you cue it correctly and be like super critical. But, you know, it's not a human being that can actually connect with you on a human level.
Yeah.
But there's just so many parts about it. Like there's going to be a mass group of coaches, consultants, service providers, service-based business owners, everybody that if they're not on board with learning how to use that, they're going to get left behind as well. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the level of compete in this game right here in this day and age is really high. And so that's why I've spent the past decade and a half learning what is needed so that I can impart this information to the people that actually are amazing transformational service providers, right? The people that actually care, people that actually want to get in front of people and make a huge impact. Like those are the people that I'm here for. I'm here for the people like I love the Apple computer commercial from the 90s where is like, here's to the rebels, the square
Mhm.
pegs in the round
Yeah.
hole. Like you go back and you watch that, you can all YouTube it. But it spoke like the branding and the marketing, the messaging and the positioning. They position themselves as the rebels in that space.
Yep.
And so if you felt like them, if you were like, yeah, I am a change maker, I am this person, I'm buying an Apple computer. This
100%.
is what we're talking about.
One of the best commercials of all time for sure. Because
Totally.
because it sold, like we're talking about identity, we're talking about positioning. It sold the tribe. It sold the transformation to a lot of people as well. Because some people that were like, "Well, I want to think differently. I want to
Yep.
be different.
Totally.
So maybe I need to get rid of the PC, go get the Mac." Right?
Yep.
It's part of my identity now, and then that can sometimes be the catalyst where maybe 2006 Matt Travis was using a PC, but then 2007 Matt Travis bought the Mac, right?
That literally happened. That literally
Let's
is literally
go.
that's literally how it happened, right? I'm now on a Mac. I have iPhone and all that stuff, but I
Let's
started
go.
back then. I was a PC guy for like probably 10 so on years, and I stayed there because it was familiar, predictable, and certain. This subconscious loves what's safe, y'all.
Yeah,
It'll stay in safe zone.
beautiful, man. We brought that one out of the. That was not planned. That was amazing. Let me ask you this. So the 10K and 10-minute audit. We talked about a lot of different things. What happens in those 10 minutes? Like how do you walk people through where they like find their blind spots so quickly? Or did we already cover it?
Yeah, I mean, like my podcast, like I tried to make it different, kind of like yours. Like I wanted it to be something that was so different than what else is out there. And so they can come on and they have 3 different episode options. So the first episode option, the first one I started with altogether was just giving micro habits, like do like super clear of exactly what the person needs to do and then go do it. Cause I feel like a lot of people listen to podcasts but they don't go and take action, right?
Yeah.
So there's no return on investment of listening to a podcast or watching a YouTube video. There was just nobody does anything with it, right? So that's like giving people actionable items to go do it with. And then what I found was I was like, you know what? That's like helping that person like put it out to their it's bringing like so if you came on and did that it's putting you in front of my audience so that they can learn from you, right? So I call that audience expansion. So that's one part. So my podcast is called the Entrepreneur Expansion. So that's audience expansion. So you can choose that episode. The second episode you could choose is business expansion, aka the 10K in 10 minutes. What I do is I just have them fill out a whole audit, like just go through the whole thing. they just doing that alone gives them an understanding of where their blind spots are, right?
Yeah.
Whether it is their offer or their positioning or their lead gen or their sales process or whatever it is, right? And then it doesn't usually happen in 10 minutes because it sounds cool. 10K in 10 minutes just sounds cool, right? So
That's the
that's where
that's the
marketing comes in.
that's the marketing shtick right there. Is
Exactly. But
10K,
we
because
usually go for,
nobody wants 10K in 1,000 days.
yeah, yeah. Or even 30 minutes. 10K in 30 minutes, that's too many minutes. So
Yeah, yeah, it's too many
it's just not
minutes.
as catchy, you know?
It's not
So
as yeah.
yeah. So what we do is over, a 30-minute span, I'm showing them literally like I build out an entire plan for them to add an extra $10,000 in revenue into their business.
Nice.
And the coolest part is it does two things. Number one is it helps them massively, right? And it also positions me as somebody who knows what the hell they're doing, right? Like I'm not just making this stuff up, I actually do it, right? And then people can also select the last option, which I call mind expansion. So we have the audience expansion, business expansion, and mind expansion. And so the mind expansion, surprisingly, is probably people's newest favorite one to book because they
Wow.
are getting I mean, and all of this, if I did this with this person privately, I mean, it's usually like a $300 to $500 session. So
Yeah.
if they want to do it privately, by all means, you can invest. But I just started to realize like
Costs a
most
lot
of the
more to
people,
do it privately, but if we're gonna share it with the world, then you get a discount.
exactly. Well, I was like, you know what? It's a win-win for all of us. It's
Yeah.
something where we all get a chance to like, I get to do what I love in supporting you. You get a win because you actually get actionable items that you can go and do and that transform your life and your business and make you money, right? And
Yeah.
then other people can watch it so then they can learn what to do. Win, win, win. That's it. I'm all about the win.
I love it. Yeah. And so that that makes a lot of sense. I didn't realize you had those three different levels in the podcast. The entrepreneur expansion, right? Where can we listen to that?
YouTube. The channel is called it's the potential you with the letter U.
Yep.
So the potential and the letter U. That's the channel name. And then all the podcasts are being released on there. You can catch it on Apple Podcasts. You can catch it on Spotify, all those places. And then I even built it in where I put it into a school community as well. So they can actually come in the school community and get rewarded for taking action on the micro habits. So
Yeah.
if they take action and they actually are commenting and moving forwards and doing all that stuff, then they can win. They can also win private sessions with me and things like that. So there's just
Nice.
I just love gamification. It's totally the phys ed teacher in me. Like games, man.
Yeah, I was about
People
to say your school community is your version of an online
actual
gym,
school.
basically.
It's full circle, bro. Like the whole thing is nuts. It's like a really crazy whole like full circle thing. But I fell in love with the SKOOL school,
Yeah.
and having my community in there, and that's called the Unstoppable CEO Mastermind. So it's just helping people really embody that conscious creator, empowered entrepreneur, and optimistic overcomer mindset, right? The CEO. So that's the vision for the future. And this is really what I'm planting my flag this year is just like I just love the coaching. I love coaching and teaching so freaking much, Daniel. Like, and I don't want people to lose faith and hope in this because I've been there. And it's like it's possible, you know.
Amazing. Well, so Matt, this has been absolutely incredible, mind expanding, mind blowing. What? So you shared the podcast, you shared the school community. Where do you want to send people to? Like, what call to action do you have for us?
Yeah, honestly, folks, how many times have you listened to a podcast or a YouTube video and you were like, man, I'd really love to talk to that person or ask that person questions, right? Like, I'm a real person. I say this on every podcast. I say, I'm a real person. Daniel's a real person. we genuinely are open to having conversation with you. Message me, like send me a friend request on Facebook, shoot me a message on Instagram at the potential you, send me a message on LinkedIn, Coach Matt Travis, right? Like we're real people. I just like there's nothing more that I love than to connect with people and actually genuinely like I this is what I teach all my clients as well. Caring connections, selfless serving, aligned ethical ascension, right? So it's meeting people where they're at. Like if you have a question, send me a question. Like if something like got stuck in your brain today from our conversation and you're like, man, I gotta know about that thing. Like just send me a message. I'll answer your question. You don't need to buy anything. You just I'm here to help you. And you know, there might be something else like that you want to go down the rabbit hole with me with, or come on and do a podcast episode. Like I'd love to have you. So that's what I would recommend, y'all. Like we're real people. Let's make real connections.
Amazing. Matt, thank you so much. And with that, all right. Thank you for joining us in this episode of the Marketing Podcast Party. Please share this episode with your friends, family, and business partners. You got a lot of big brain ideas in this one, right? Also, remember that the party continues with your free copy of the Ideas That Influence book and interactive box experience. I wrote the book and created the box experience to help you with even more wildly successful marketing ideas. Head on over to bigideasbox.com to grab your copy. You'll get your copy for free. You just pay shipping and handling. Once again, that's bigideasbox.com for your free plus shipping copy of Ideas That Influence. I'm Daniel Din. This is the Marketing Podcast Party, and I'll see you in the next episode.